Okay, get to a little bit of a outdoorsy video here, even though it's not outdoors. So one of my subscribers, who's been a friend for a few years through YouTube, okay, he has a Coleman 533. He's been having some issues with it. And so sometimes we do have some little issues with these stoves, okay? Generally they don't have a lot of problems. There's not a lot to them. It's a tank. It's got a burner. It's got a generator. It's got a pot stand. That's pretty much it. You know, the tank has got a filler cap and a pump. Alright? Two things that generally will give you little issues if you have one of these long enough and you don't use it all the time. Okay? Is the generator and the pump. Now the pump, I don't remember if I changed it on this one, but I've changed it on a couple of my others. I have extra leathers for the pump, fuel pump on these stoves. A lot of these newer Coleman stoves come with a rubber plunger, okay, on the end of the pump there. And those are inferior because they do wear out. They're just not as good. The leather ones work forever because you just put a little bit of oil on them and they swell up and they're lubricated, you know, and then, you know, they just work. They just get a good suction between, you know, the wall of the tube and the pump, and they just work. They work good. That's what they had originally. And then, of course, over time, you know, companies cheap out a little bit here, cheap out a little bit there, you know. Then they went to the rubber pump plunger, and you know. But you can go back, go to oldcolemanparts.com. You could get that leather part for your plunger. Just swap it out, and that's it. Now, Kevin had an issue with his stove. Had an issue with his stove actually, just not wanting to operate correctly. Just not wanting to operate correctly. Just having a tall yellow flame, never settling down to a blue flame or anything like that. Just having a tall yellow flame, and that's it. He can't get to go past that. So a lot of times what happens is that there's a few things that you can work on with the stove. Number one, you got to make sure that you can get the tank pressurized. So, I just opened that and some fuel flew out there. That's not good. Okay, I've had this sitting around for a while. Alright, so let me open that. Okay, it pumps up good. So I put 25 pumps in. I'm going to go ahead and clean this fuel off here real quick. And then we will progress further. even though that's white gas, I'm going to use a little alcohol to clean it up here. A little alcohol to clean that off the table. You know, white gas generally cleans off quick and easy. We want to get rid of any residue and fumes so we don't have no issues. Right? Right, so anytime I do anything with whether it's with paper towels or toilet paper or whatever to clean up fuel or whatnot, I always take it outside and burn it. So I don't throw it in the trash. I take it outside and burn it, and then it can never self-combust or anything like that in the trash. Right. So put this over here for a second. Do a check. Nothing. Alright. Okay, so I pumped it up. So it's got pressure now. So if I turn the little valve, I get, you know, pressure coming out. Okay? Now, so I want to definitely make sure that my cap is on tight, and it is. Alright. One thing that we want to make sure that we do when we turn this on, we want to make sure that we turn this valve back and forth a bunch of times, because that not only operates the fuel, okay, not only operates the fuel, it also makes sure that the generator is cleared of debris, because it will clog up with crud, you know, when you're using it, especially if you use something like unleaded fuel. Unleaded fuel is dirty. It's not like white gas, you know, that's very clean burning. So we want to make sure that that generator is clear. So we want to clear it by, you know, moving the valve back and forth and back and forth. And that moves a small wire inside, right, inside the generator to clear the crud. Alright, so I gave it some pumps, turned it tight, make sure my valve is, my cap is tight over here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a start. Alright, generally I don't use a butane lighter, but just got to wing it this morning. Now, as you can see, there's yellow flame. So what's happening, but there's blue flame. So what's happening here is heat vaporizes the fuel coming out of the tank. Alright, so what you're doing is you're trying to heat the generator. When you heat the generator tube, that is, when you heat the generator tube, it makes the fuel coming from the tank into the tube vaporize. So that's full on. Now, to keep this generator tube clean, just move that a bunch. There, you know, I hate to say it, but the 533 does not have a lot of fine adjustment. I have a 502 from 1967, and that has a lot of fine adjustment. It's not quite the BTUs, but it's quieter. It's not super quiet, but it is a bit quieter, and you get more fine adjustment out of it. So this particular stove works pretty darn good for its age. I think it's from '99. Okay. Alright, now it's completely open. Now turn it off. When I turn it off, before you fully turn your stove off and you're done with the stove, you know, move the valve so that the generator tube gets, any kind of crud in the generator tube gets cleared out. So that excess fuel will burn off, and then it'll go out. Sometimes it will burn for a minute or two. Okay, but now it's getting ready to go out. But sometimes it will burn for a minute or two just to get rid of any excess fuel that's in the tube. Notice how it's turned yellow a little bit there. And it's about 90% out. It's burning off. But now it's out. So the thing is that one time I had this stove, I had it in storage for a while, a few years, and I got it out, and I had like some issues with it. So the issues were, you know, it just didn't want to run good, right? And then also I you know, had it, you know, it was like to where like it wouldn't turn blue. It wouldn't turn blue. It was just yellow flames. And so what I did was I took out the old gas, and then I just put fresh gas in it, and then I just ran it, and I kept moving that valve back and forth, and it cleared up. It cleared up. So that's what I took. I took an afternoon. I took an afternoon on a day off, and I just messed with it, and for a few hours. I just, you know, put new fuel in it. I kept moving the valve, you know, and it cleared up. It cleared out. So it cleared out the crap from the tube and whatnot, and it eventually became blue again. Right? So it's your stove is not a loss if you're having a few little issues. It's just not a loss. Here, let me use this little piece of wood here. Something like this is what I generally like to use anyway. I don't like using lighter. See that? That's not lit. That was just an ember, but it wouldn't light that stove. There. See, this is what some of you guys will be experiencing. But the thing is why is that? It's what I said. You know, you got crap fuel in there. And I hate to say it, but Coleman fuel does have additives. So if you use something like Crown, okay, or any other fuel, which is a good fuel. I mean, you can use Crown and Coleman, it's white gas. But the Coleman fuel has additives. You know, quote unquote Coleman fuel has additives that keeps it good for a very long time. I had in my dad's Coleman lantern, there was 40-year-old white gas in there, Coleman fuel. And it was still volatile. I mean, you could still use it. So all you got to do really is just clear the crud out. Clear it out. Burn off the crud that is accumulated in your generator tube, and make sure that your connections are tight. Don't over tighten them. Snug, you know, make sure they're snug. You know, make sure that your cap is snug. Make sure you got a good pump, okay, that it will hold pressure. If you don't have a good pump, then that valve plunger should be replaced. I mean, nowadays they just sell you the whole thing, the whole valve, which is a waste. But if you go to oldcolemanparts.com, you can get the leather plunger. Just put a little household oil on there, get it soaked good in household oil, wipe off the excess, put it on your plunger, and take off your old rubber plunger, and it should be good. See, that's full on. Now I'm going to turn it off. So as I'm turning it off, remember now, as you're going to turn it off, clean your generator. You want to clean the generator by turning it on and off, on, off, on, off. Alright, now I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to let it go out. I mean, it's probably been a year since I've cranked this up. And I try to crank up my stoves and lantern. I call it the autumn startup, you know. So around August, September, that's when I start pulling out the lanterns, pulling out the stoves, doing any little maintenance items that they need, and so forth, and make sure that they are all operating properly. Obviously, this stove is operating perfectly. This is a Coleman 533. It's pretty old now, from 1999, so it's 27 years old. And it's operating great. And I have a Coleman 502 from 1967. It operates perfectly. So you guys have seen that here on the channel. I've got it squirreled somewhere, and I can't remember where I put it. So I got to find it. Since I'm talking about this one and it cranked it up, something's on there smoking. Probably frog loop. So just to let you guys know, sometimes I'll spray some frog lube on different pieces, parts, and what it does is it will bake. It will bake. It will become black. Yeah. Anyway, so that's smoking a little bit. I must have put some frog lube on that center screw or something. Maybe on the actual burner. I don't remember. Anyway, sometimes I put frog lube on screws or pieces, parts on there. Because frog lube is 100% non-toxic. You can use it on your knives. You can use it on your guns. You can use it on your stove parts. Things like that. You can use it on stuff. You know, because it's environmentally friendly and everything. So anyway, that is the Coleman dual fuel 533. Now I have also used unleaded fuel in here, and it does operate fine, you know, but unleaded fuel is dirtier. So if you use unleaded fuel in your dual fuel, I would, you know, run some white gas through it periodically just to help clear out deposits and stuff, you know, to keep it in good running order, you know. It's a tank of a stove. It's very good. The 502, in my opinion, is a little bit more robust because it does have an actual burner cage and stuff. It's going to be just a tad heavier. I've never weighed the two to find the actual weight because I'm not a weight weenie like that. You know, I figure if I need it, I'm going to use it, you know. And it's an excellent stove. Excellent. It just is what it is. You know, you got some people that will say, oh, that's too heavy. But, you know, the thing is that, you know, you got to carry some kind of fuel. Unless it's going to be a wood burner, like that Bush buddy over there. But then, you have to start thinking about smoke. I mean, if you're going to be in a tactical situation, you have to think about certain things. You know, like this stove is quite loud. You have to think about that. Obviously, the Bush Buddy is not loud, but it can create smoke depending on the wood that you burn, right? So, I mean, you got give and take in everything. You just have to utilize what you can, you know, at the time or the situation. You have to try to look ahead. And if you know that it's not going to be safe, it's not going to be, you know, tactically safe for you to cook and have a hot meal, then you're just going to have to go cold. That's it. You know, hard ration. So it's just the way it is. You know, sometimes you just have to buckle down and do what's necessary, just depending, you know. The French rations, they've got regular rations, that they have, you know, the special operations rations. And, you know, the thing about the regular rations is that, you know, there's stuff that you could just eat, open and eat, packages, you know, in the ration pack. You just open it and eat it. You know, and then the special operations rations are designed to be lighter, but the problem is you got to add water to them, you know. So there's always some kind of a give and take in anything. And with stoves, you know, are you using it for fun? Are you using it for a tactical situation? Or, you know, what's your situation? That's what you have to think of. You know, that's why I've got different stoves and so forth. Because, you know, you got to think about what are you using it for? You know. And always choose good equipment. So when you get your kit, you want to buy the good stuff. You don't want to buy junk. You don't want to buy any stuff that's just like bargain basement. Oh, I got this for cheap off of this Chinese website. No, you don't want that. You don't. I bought a stove here a few years ago. I still need to work on it. This stove is from a Chinese company. I don't generally buy anything like that, but it's a diesel stove. So I thought it might be an option